I found out I work for monsters, and I've seen what scares them. Working for the mob is pretty much the same as any other job you might have. You get up, you eat some breakfast, you go to work. On very rare occasions, you hit someone in the mouth. Most days, you're doing work someone who gets paid more than you tells you to do. You do a good job, you move up. You do a bad one, you don't. You do a really bad one, you move down. Me, I do good work. I was the right hand for a guy nicknamed No Red Wayne. He got the name because he didn't like red. Didn't like it on his people, didn't like it on his turf, didn't like it in his books. He was good at keeping the red out, so he was highly trusted and widely respected. A couple months ago, No Red was asked to take over a club up north that was underperforming. We yanked the leashes a few times and got the place on track pretty quick. You've got to keep an eye on things, though. It keeps them from backsliding when they know they're being watched. So this one night, we've just closed up and No Red is with the bartenders doing the countouts. I'm shooting the shit with Bobby the door guy when this rough-looking guy walks up. And when I say rough, I mean it. He's skinny and dirty, he's wearing a dingy hoodie with a low-slung cap, and his head is hanging to where I can't see his face well. He's almost walks through his shoes and the bottoms of his pants. I could smell him before I saw him. It was like a washed corpse. "We're closed, guy," Bobby calls out to him. "You can't be on the property." "Sorry," the guy says back. He sounds way more clear-headed than his appearance would suggest. "I'm looking for someone. You call him No Red. Can you send him out?" Now, I've been working with No Red for a while now. I've never seen him keeping company with anyone that could make a coroner put down his fork, so I'm really curious. "How do you know No Red?" "We go way back. Tell him it's Sherman Sandoval." I figure it can't hurt. This guy doesn't seem that dangerous, so I tell Bobby to keep an eye on him and go head inside. When I unlocked the door, the guy took a half step forward, but so did Bobby and he backed up again. "Hey, No Red," I call out. "There's a guy outside asking for you." "What does he want?" No Red called back. I come into the main area and No Red is sitting at the bar with the bartenders, the waitresses, and the 3 door guys we had inside for the night. Staff usually has to wait around for tip-outs to make sure no one is up to anything. No Red is good at sniffing out when folks are trying to skim, so you can't leave until he clears you. Said he didn't say, but he asked for you by name. Said his name was Sherman Sandoval. Soon as I said that, No Red gives me this look. It's the same one people wear when you tell them a loved one passed away after fighting with an illness for a while. It was unnerving. He suddenly starts counting the money faster than I've ever seen. Seriously, he was counting it like a machine in a casino. "Tell him I need a few. Gotta count out the staff." "Are you okay?" I ask him. "Just go, Lenny. Tell him, now." He's got a voice on, so I go. Outside, the guy is still right where he was when I went in. He said he needs a few. He's got to count out the staff. I tell him. He nods a little and says nothing. That's when I notice he's starting to look tense. It's not obvious, but you notice little things. He's leaned forward a little like he wants to move, and his breathing is a little more audible. Little things. After a minute, the waitresses and the bartenders are leaving, so I head back inside. The door guys are standing around like a pack of smacked asses. No Red is at the bar pacing. He's finishing up a call when he sees me. He waves me over, then turns to the guys. "All right, fellas, we got a problem and I got to explain it first, so clean the shit out of your ears because we don't have time for me to say any of this twice. That man outside isn't a man. Not anymore. That thing outside is a ghoul." Now, I'm a bit of a horror movie buff, so I laugh. He said it so seriously that I couldn't help myself. "Come on, boss, pull the other one. Next you'll be telling me vampires are real too. Lenny, you've known me long enough. Do I seem like the joking kind?" Now the guys are looking at me, and I'm feeling dumb suddenly. It was hard to swallow, sure, but something about the way he said it made me second-guess myself. And since you mention it, yeah, vampires are real. Because I'm one, which is why the ghoul is here in the first place. I killed him a few years ago, and now he's here to return the favor.
Don't vampires make ghouls as slaves, like in the movies? One of the guys chimes in. If it worked like that, do you think I'd be paying you chuckleheads? No, those things happen if a vampire gets greedy. Now I got a few grand here. You guys can't kill that thing, but if you can get it into the walk-in, you can split this. It's 16 grand.
Now the guys are eyeing that roll like it's a key of coke at a porn star's wedding. How much more will you pay us to kill him? Another guy asks. You can't. Don't bother. Just get him into the walk-in and for fuck's sake be... He stops when we hear a boom from the front doors. And when I say from the front doors, I mean it's the actual fucking doors. Those doors are basically 2 1-inch thick slabs of steel. Right after we took over, we got ram raided, so No Red had these heavy security doors installed to make sure it never happened again. There's a second boom and a squeak. I jog back over to look and watch them buckle a little. Then another boom, and they almost give. I can't believe that skinny, sickly-looking guy is the one doing that. He had to have gotten a car or something. The doors buckle again and explode inward. Before I can react, Bobby comes flying at me. He hits me like a sack of potatoes and lays me out. Now Sherman in the doorway. His hood is off, he's lost his hat, and it's now clear why he was wearing them both. Half his face is missing. I can see his teeth through his cheeks and his nose and eyes are gone. He looks at me for a second. At least that's what it felt like. Then he breaks into a run. When you come into the club, you have to go down a hallway, then turn left into the main section where you have some seating in the dance floor. The bar is at the far side and the walk-in is right next to that. When Sherman rounds the corner, one of the guys is waiting with a bar stool and catches him full force in the face. He stumbles a few steps and then drops to his knees. The guy with the stool hits him again and knocks him flat. Now things are looking good. A couple of the guys grab the ghoul by the legs and start to drag him to the walk-in. I'm rolling Bobby over so I can help when I notice something that stops me dead. Bobby's neck was crushed. It looked like the elbow of a bendy straw. I could still see the grooves where Sherman's fingers had crushed it like a cheap soda can. It was dawning on me how deeply screwed we were. I turn to look as Sherman sits up and grabs the guys dragging him by the arms and snaps them. The guy with the stool tries to hit him again, but Sherman is ready this time and snatches it out of his hands. He swings back at the guy without getting up and hits the side of his knees. They just give way. It sounds like fresh celery. Then he flings the stool full force at No Red, who is trying to run past him. The stool catches him in the legs and he tumbles to a stop in the middle of the dance floor. It was a blur. By the time I got to my feet, Sherman was already on top of No Red. It was horrific. He was hitting him over and over without stopping. The floor is polished concrete and I can hear it cracking as this guy just goes to town. I look at the guys this ghoul has taken apart with one hit and No Red getting beaten into a smear and I freeze. No amount of money is going to convince me to even try to touch that thing. I'm pulled out of it by a wet, crunchy splash. No Red's head is a pile of mush. I've seen dead guys before, but I've never seen someone die like this. Sherman kind of slumps over and starts laughing. It's the happiest laugh I've heard in a long time. It's like a little kid. While he's doing it, him and No Red start to crumble and turn to dust. No flash of fire, no dramatic light, just dust and laughter. Maybe 5 minutes later, Jimmy James shows up. He's No Red's boss. He walks in, takes one look at the mess, and looks like someone took the air out of him. "Were you here for this?" he asks me. "Yeah," I reply. "He tell you what it was?" "Yeah." "Well, at least it only killed one of you." He nudges Bobby with his foot. "You knew about that thing?" I ask him. "Yeah, I helped him catch it last time, sealed it up in concrete and dropped it off the coast. I guess we should have dropped it further out." He laughed. He actually laughed. "The shit ain't funny." "Nah, it's a little funny. I told that dumbass he needed to eat more and in smaller amounts. Then he wouldn't have fucked around and made that thing." Jimmy James turned with a shark whistle and a couple guys jogged in. He pointed to the injured doorman and Bobby's body, and the guys grabbed them without a word. Jimmy walked over to the bar and grabbed the roll of cash No Red had left there. He walked back and put it in my pocket. "Now, keep your mouth shut and enjoy your promotion. My brother would have wanted you to have it."
Now go home and get some rest." I stared at him. "I didn't know you and No Red were brothers. Tonight's just full of revelations, ain't it? Now go home. I got sweeping to do, and you got a club to run." So I went home. I ate my dinner. I went to bed. I didn't ask any questions, just like a normal day, even if it wasn't.
I think something terribly wrong is going on with the clinic I work at. Hi everyone. I wonder if anyone will read this, but thank you if you do. Something weird has been going on at work, and I just feel lost. I feel all sorts of things, really. I'm not sure what to think or who to talk to. I saw that some people post here to talk about things they can't really talk about anywhere else. I thought I would give it a try. I'm not the type to be very open about the irrational, so I'm not sure how to approach this. I thought about trying therapy, but they would probably just assume that I am crazy. Except this time, I want to get it out of my head. Get it out there, anywhere. I'll try to keep it short and to the point so it doesn't take too long to read. Before all of this, I lived in a tiny town in the middle of fields and forests. It had its charm, I won't deny that, but it didn't feel like I was made for this type of life. I'll be honest, I felt helpless, like I had no potential of a future there. As a high school student, there were very few job options open for us. Either we worked at one of the 2 tiny restaurants, the grocery store, or one of the 3 gas stations. That's right, we had 3 gas stations, which we all thought was excessive considering that we could cross the town from one side to the other by foot within an hour. Anyway, I ended up working at a family diner. Once I finished high school, I stayed there for a few more months so I could save up more money. Then I moved to the city I live in now. Life is very different here, 400 kilometers away from home. There are hundreds of thousands of people. It's always loud, always moving. As soon as I arrived, despite having a good amount of savings in my account, I went looking for a job. 3 days later, I was officially hired at a small convenience store. I was lucky to find something so quickly. I wasn't looking for anything fancy, really. I just wanted anything that would ease my anxiety and my fear of having to go back home if I couldn't afford the life here. My plan was to go to college, study to become a translator, then find a job in that field. Unfortunately, after a year of studying, I accepted that I wouldn't be able to handle it. Long story short, my will to live was gone, I couldn't afford groceries, rent, and all the costs related to college, and I had no energy, ever. So I gave up. I quit college and kept working. After 2 more years, I decided to look for another job, something more permanent. It took a while. Finding a job in a city where every place is filled to the brim with employees isn't easy. If anyone tells you, you'll see they're looking for employees everywhere. Well, that person is full of shit. I applied to over 100 places and only got 2 responses back. I had an interview with a clothing store which didn't lead anywhere. One night, a notification lit up my phone screen. I received an email from the Timeless Beauty Center saying that they were hiring me. No interview, no nothing. They wanted me to start the next day. The job is pretty simple. I'm basically a receptionist for a plastic surgery clinic and for a photography studio. I know what you're probably thinking. I also thought it was weird when I got hired, but it quickly became normal to me. The 2 businesses are owned by the same woman. I've never met her, but I heard that she is your typical rich, snobby woman, not the type of person I would get along with, not the type to give me a second glance. If you come in the Timeless Beauty Center, you'll find yourself in a wide, shiny white hallway. The walls, the floor, the furniture, it's all pure white, almost blinding. After walking a few steps, you'll then be in front of my desk, facing me. To my left, a door leads to the photography studio, and to my right, you guessed it, is another door that opens in the plastic surgery clinic. I answer calls, schedule appointments, and welcome in customers and patients. I have other tasks, of course, but I'm just trying to give you a little summary of what I do so you can understand the basic idea of my job. I couldn't tell you how skilled our photographers are because I've never seen any of the pictures they take. I never question that. I don't know what the laws related to photography are. Maybe they aren't allowed to share pictures taken of people in a private studio. Our surgeons, however, are incredibly good at what they do. I mean it. The patients that come in look completely different once they come out a few days later. They can do anything and everything to a point where it's almost creepy. I'm talking facial surgery that leaves no scarring at all, entirely changing the face shape of a person. They do hair transplants that seem so natural, nobody would guess that it isn't real. That's not all they do, though. Jaw surgery, liposuction, you name it. The list goes on. For example, a lady came in one afternoon saying she had an appointment under the name of Stephanie with Dr. Stevens. So as per the procedure, I hand her a form to fill out while I call the doctor to let him know that his next patient is here. I'm not sure what her appointment was for, since I never read people's files. It felt disrespectful, like an invasion of privacy. I would technically be able to find out if I wanted to, but that would involve snooping further into the system than I was allowed to. Stephanie was an average height, slim woman with short black hair. Her teeth were slightly crooked, but most people would never notice, too captivated by her deep green eyes. Dr. Stevens came to let her into the clinic, and I went on with my day, welcoming in more clients for either one of the two businesses. I don't usually remember patients, if I'm being honest, but I remembered her. I'm a simple 20-year-old man, all right. When I see a beautiful woman, well, I remember her. So 2 days later, when a tall, red-headed woman came to my desk to check out of the clinic, I was astonished. There stood Stephanie, at least 4 inches taller than she originally was. Her hair reached her hips, and her skin now had freckles that I swear she didn't have before. My eyes observed every aspect of her new appearance until they landed on her teeth. They were perfectly straight. A weird feeling settled in the back of my lungs. Did she get fake teeth? I had no doubt that Dr. Stevens would be capable of doing such a realistic-looking job, but still, it weirded me out. She looked at me with a tint of amusement in her eyes. Her eyes, they looked different. They were still green, but I promise you I'm not kidding when I say that they were a completely different shade. You know that cartoonish green, toxic liquid color? It was exactly like that. I thought I was mistaken. There was no way she could be the same Stephanie. But no, she was the same woman from 2 days ago. There was no doubt. Such was confirmed when her information perfectly matched the one written in the computer system. That stayed with me for a while after, honestly. I'm not the most knowledgeable when it comes to science, but that seemed impossible to me. I mean, changing eye colors like that and height? Still, I tried not to think about it too much. The surgeons are the professionals, I'm just the receptionist. I need to mind my business. Part of me didn't want to ask questions, afraid that I would be fired and without a source of income. So what if I didn't understand the links of surgery? I brushed the doubt out of my mind and kept on working as usual. A few weeks later, I welcomed in a gorgeous young woman. I'm talking long black hair, beautiful brown eyes decorated with flawless makeup, and a figure that would make everyone in the room notice her. I wondered if she was a model.
Welcome in. What can I help you with today? I asked. Hi, I'm here for my photo shoot. It's under the name of Ella. She replied with a smile, her shiny white teeth contrasting with her black lipstick. I handed her a form to fill and told her that her photographer would be with her soon, gesturing towards the waiting area of the hall. Ella took the document and looked at me, her expression changing slightly. Are you sure you don't need my phone number? She said with a glint in her eyes. We already have it in our files, don't worry, I responded. She tapped on my desk with her fingers, smiling playfully. She chuckled, took a pen, and wrote her number on a small piece of paper I had on my desk. Then she winked and walked away, before taking a seat and beginning to fill out her form. I wasn't used to being flirted with at work. Most people's minds were entirely focused on their appointment. I must have looked really stupid because I don't even remember responding. I'm pretty sure I just stared at her with my mouth slightly open, trying to formulate a response. I stood there like an idiot for an embarrassingly long moment, before shaking my head and picking up the phone to call on the photographer. A few minutes later, Ella was brought into the studio. As she walked past my desk, she winked at me again. I smiled at her and put her number in my pocket. Part of me thought this was ridiculous. This is my workplace, not a middle school classroom. But still, I couldn't help but hope that something good would come of it. I wasn't the social type.
I still am not. I don't go to bars nor go to parties, so I don't usually end up with a woman's phone number. God, this is embarrassing to admit. The day got pretty busy. It seemed like it would never calm down, but sure enough, less and less people started coming in, giving me time to clean up and close the hall for the night. I was mindlessly sweeping the floor, simply relieved that the day was over, when my mind started to wonder. I hadn't seen Ella leave the building after her appointment. I had really wanted to make up for the first impression she got of me. I wanted to wish her a good evening at least, maybe even invite her to go out for coffee together. I let out a sigh. Sure, it wasn't that big of a deal, but I was still disappointed. What if she changed her mind about me? I rolled my eyes, then kept cleaning. After I finally left, I pulled the note out of my pocket and sent Ella a text. It simply said, "Hey, it's Zach, the receptionist. I thought I would see you again after your photo shoot, but I must have missed you." I put my phone back into my pocket and started walking back home. The lights coming from other parts of the building still illuminated the streets around it. It was always like this. Some employees left much later than I did, despite the reception closing at 9 p.m. It seemed weird to me, but again, I assumed they probably had paperwork to fill and whatnot. It's hard to know what has to be done in a plastic surgery clinic after closing time when you don't work in there. I got home, ate something, then took a shower. After all this, I settled in bed. For once, I felt happy. I felt hopeful. Honestly, I couldn't stop glancing at my phone to see if Ella had responded, but she hadn't. She didn't reply that night, nor the day after. Days passed without a response, and I assumed she changed her mind. I was disappointed, I admit, but it happens. It wasn't the end of the world. I got busy at work again, and I quickly stopped thinking about her. Despite my job technically being monotonous, little interactions here and there with people made each day a little bit different from the other, which I appreciated. This morning, something happened that truly freaked me out. The day had been boring. Nothing out of the ordinary or truly interesting happened. I was taking a sip of my coffee when a woman made her way around my desk and stood in front of me. "I'm here to check out," she said happily. My coffee caught in my throat, and I had to try really hard to keep it from coming back up. I swallowed, feeling the liquid slowly, painfully go down my throat. The woman, she looked like Ella. Not exactly like her, no. Some of her features were different. She was shorter and her smile was entirely different, but she undeniably looked eerily similar to her. "A certain thing?" I asked, hoping the woman standing in front of me would somehow be Ella. "It's under the name of Sophie. I came in a few days ago for my surgeries," she answered. My breath caught in my throat. I looked her up in the system, and sure enough, a short blonde woman with light blue eyes had come in 4 days ago. Except Sophie wasn't blonde anymore. Her hair was long and black, and her eyes were now a deep shade of brown that I hadn't been able to forget the sight of since I last saw them on Ella's face a week ago. I held my breath, trying to push down the wave of nausea that was dangerously making its way up my throat. As soon as she left, I fell to the floor, bent over the trash can, and I threw up. It was undeniable. For fuck's sake, those eyes were Ella's eyes. That hair was her hair, but they were on a completely different woman. That made no sense. I stayed on the floor for a little while longer, clutching my stomach, heavy breathing. Fortunately, nobody else came in that night. I didn't even clean the hall. I locked the front door, and I left. I don't even think I turned off the lights. I ran home as fast as I could. I'm in bed now, and I can barely breathe. I sent an embarrassing amount of texts to Ella's number, begging her to respond, to say something. But she's not responding. I don't know what to do. Typing this all down was harder than I thought it would be. I'm trying to be rational, I swear, but how can I make sense of this? The new eyes, the new teeth, all those new features people come out with after their surgeries, they have to come from somewhere, right? Just please help me make sense of this. I swear I'm not crazy, but I can't shake the feeling that something could have happened to Ella. If you have any idea, any rational explanation, anything, please tell me.
I work fire lookout shifts in northern Arizona. Pine country, high elevation. Isolation is part of the job. Most nights, it's just the crackle of the radio, the hiss of wind through the pines, and the occasional coyote. I've been here long enough to recognize every sound this forest makes. Or at least I thought I had. 2 weeks ago, I saw something on the ridge west of my tower. At first, I thought it was a hiker. Tall, lanky, moving slow through the trees. I grabbed the binoculars, logged it, and called it in. That's standard procedure, except it was close to midnight, and that ridge doesn't have trails. No one should have been there. I kept watching. The figure stopped between two pines, perfectly still. It tilted its head like it was listening. When I tried to radio again, the signal cut into static. A second later, I heard my own voice echo back over the frequency. "Everything's fine, just logging it." Those were the exact words I'd spoken a minute earlier. That's when it screamed. Not an animal scream, not even close. It sounded like something trying to force words through a throat that had forgotten how to use them. Half human, half animal, all wrong. The sound clawed at me in a way I still feel when I try to sleep. By the time I steadied my hands and looked back through the binoculars, it was gone. The next morning, I asked the rangers to sweep the ridge. They didn't find hikers, didn't find campers. The only thing out of place was an elk carcass, ribs splayed like fingers, hide hanging in strips. The kill didn't look clean. Not torn by wolves, not eaten by scavengers. The cuts were messy, almost deliberate. That night, I kept the spotlight sweeping the tree line. For hours, nothing. Just the sway of the pines and the quiet weight of the dark. Around 2 a.m., I caught something crouched just outside the edge of the light. Not an animal, not a man. Something in between. Its skin was stretched too tight, like it was wearing something that didn't belong to it. The face, if I can even call it that, looked borrowed. Lips crooked, jaw unhinged too far like it wasn't built to stay attached. It mouthed words I couldn't hear, but I felt them, deep in my teeth, in my bones. Moments later, it bolted, moving faster than anything should be able to. 2 nights later, one of the ground crew went missing. We found his truck abandoned on a service road, headlights still burning, engines still running. The driver's side door was wide open. The snow around the vehicle was covered in footprints. Bare feet. Too long. Too many. We found him 3 miles deeper in the forest. He was strung up in a ponderosa pine like someone had tossed him there. Throat gone. Tongue left whole. The snow at the base of the tree had been disturbed. Smears of blood and dirt traced into words. It wears you. After that, I stopped sleeping. Every night, I heard it closer. Sometimes it circled the tower, breathing under the floorboards. Sometimes it whispered my name in voices that belonged to people I knew. My brother, my old supervisor, even my own. One night, I broke. I whispered back, "What do you want?" It answered in my voice, "Let me in." I filed the report, asked for reassignment. Base denied it. Said the evidence was inconclusive. So I stayed. Kept watch. Waited.
The week after, venison disappeared from cold storage. Not cut, not bitten. Torn apart by hand. Fingernails embedded in the fat. Tracks led from the locker straight to the tower stairs. Halfway up, pressed into the wood, was a face. Not carved, not drawn. Pressed, like something with no skin of its own had leaned hard enough to leave an imprint behind. It looked like me. That was 4 nights ago. Since then, the tower has gone quiet. Too quiet. No radio chatter, no animal sounds. Just me and the trees and something circling when the sun goes down. Last night, I woke to the sound of footsteps on the stairs, slow, heavy, pausing between each step like it was waiting for me to move first. I gripped the rifle and kept the spotlight trained on the door. Soon after, I heard knocking. Not on the tower door, on the glass right behind my head. I froze, didn't breathe. The knock came again, louder. I turned. There was a face pressed to the glass. My face, only the eyes weren't mine. This morning, base called, said they'd gotten reports of me transmitting all night long. Calm, steady. It's fine, they said I told them. Just logging it. Thing is, I never touched the mic. The radio's been dead for days. I should have left, packed up, climbed down, and never looked back. But the forest feels wrong now, like it's waiting for me to try. And tonight, it's worse. The air is heavy, still. The tree line looks closer than it did yesterday. About an hour ago, I heard movement below the tower. Not circling this time. Climbing. Nails on wood. I stayed at the top of the stairs with the rifle leveled. Something paused halfway up, breathing like it had lungs too big for its body. Slowly, the breathing shifted until it matched mine. Inhale for inhale, exhale for exhale. I backed away, waited. After a moment, the sound stopped. When I checked the stairs, nothing was there. But on the landing, scratched into the wood with something sharp, were 3 words. You are tired. Now it's past midnight. The spotlight just flickered. My reflection in the glass isn't lining up anymore. It's smiling when I'm not. I keep catching glimpses of something tall between the trees, something wearing pieces of me that don't fit right. And every time I blink, it's closer. Not in the tree line anymore, not outside. In the tower, standing just behind me.
My work computer knows things about me it shouldn't. I've never been one for ghost stories or anything like that. I'm just a regular guy, 29, working a boring office job in a mid-sized city. But something's been happening at work and I can't explain it. I'm posting here because I need to get this out and maybe someone can tell me I'm not losing my mind. This started a month ago and it's getting worse. I work in customer support for a tech company, one of those open plan offices with glass walls and free coffee. My desk is in a corner, and I spend most of my day on my work computer answering emails and troubleshooting software issues. It's a standard Dell desktop, nothing fancy, locked down by IT so we can't install anything or mess with settings. About a month ago, I noticed something weird. I'd left my computer on overnight by mistake, and when I came in the next morning, there was a Word document open on the screen. It was blank except for one line. You forgot to call Mom last night. I stared at it for a good minute. I had forgotten to call my mom. She'd texted me asking why I didn't pick up, but I hadn't told anyone at work about it, and I definitely didn't type that. I checked the document properties. Created at 2:17 a.m., no author listed. My first thought was a prank, but my coworkers aren't the type, and nobody else has my login password. IT confirms the computer hadn't been accessed remotely. I deleted the file, logged out, and tried to forget it. A few days later, it happened again. Another Word doc, this time saying, "You're out of milk." I'd noticed that morning that my fridge was empty, but again, I hadn't mentioned it to anyone. The file was created at 3:04 a.m. I started feeling uneasy, like someone was watching me. I checked my desk for hidden cameras, even looked under the keyboard. Nothing. I asked IT to run a malware scan, and they found nothing unusual. My manager, Karen, thought I was overreacting and told me to stop leaving my computer unlocked, even though I hadn't. Then things got weirder.
One night I was working late, catching up on emails. Around 8 p.m., my screen flickered and a text file popped up. It read, "Why did you lie to Sarah about the party?" My stomach dropped. Sarah's my girlfriend, and I'd told her I was too tired to go to her friend's birthday party the previous weekend, when really I just didn't like the crowd. I'd never told anyone, not even my best friend. The file was timestamped that exact moment. I shut the computer down, grabbed my stuff, and left. I barely slept that night. I started keeping a log of these incidents, hoping to find a pattern. The messages kept coming, always at odd hours, always about something personal. "You shouldn't have skipped the gym today. You left your keys on the counter again. You're still thinking about that fight with Dad, aren't you?" Each one hit harder, like the computer was digging into my thoughts. I stopped using it for anything personal. No emails, no browsing, nothing. But the messages didn't stop. Last week, I decided to test it. I thought about something specific, something I'd never said out loud, the time I cheated on a math test in high school and still feel guilty about it. I didn't write it down or tell anyone, just held the thought in my head while sitting at my desk. That night, I stayed late on purpose. At 9:13 p.m., a new text file appeared. "You never told Mr. Jenkins about the test." I swear I almost screamed. I yanked the power cord out of the wall and sat there shaking. I've tried everything. IT reinstalled the operating system, but the messages came back the next day. I swapped computers with a coworker, but the new one started doing the same thing within hours. I even took a few days off, thinking maybe I was stressed. But when I came back, there was a file waiting. Running away won't help. I'm scared to sit at my desk now. I keep my monitor turned off when I'm not using it, but I can still hear the hard drive whirring sometimes, like it's working on something. The worst part is last night. I was home, not even at work, and my phone buzzed with an email from my work account. I hadn't logged in since leaving the office. The subject was blank, and the body just said, "I see you right now." I live alone. I checked every room, every closet, even the damn crawl space. Nothing. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. I haven't gone back to work since then. I don't know what this is. A hacker? Some kind of AI glitch? Or something else? I'm thinking about quitting, but I'm scared it'll follow me. Has anyone dealt with something like this? I'm out of ideas, and I'm starting to think this thing knows more about me than I do. Please, if you have any advice, I'm all ears. I just want this to stop.
Work is haunted. Excuse any formatting weirdness, I'm on mobile, but I need some outside perspective on this situation, and all my friends think I'm messing around or overreacting. For some context, due to local privacy laws, I have to leave certain details vague or out completely. I'm sorry, I'll do my best. Backstory, I work in a residential facility. That means that there are clients who call this place home 24/7, but we are only staffed 12 hours a day. There are supposed to be 2 of us on the late shift, but due to being short-staffed and wonky distribution of coverage, I am often there alone for the last leg of the night, if not longer. Also, the residents have a mandatory off-site obligation daily from 6 to 8, which means I am often truly alone on the property. Now on to the events of the past few weeks. One night 2-3 weeks ago, I was on property alone. I had gone to the bathroom before packing up to go home for the night, and while in the restroom, I heard a door slam elsewhere in the building. I assumed it was one of the residents who had stayed back for some reason, which does happen occasionally, and listened to hear where they went. But there were no footsteps. Okay, cool. Maybe they stopped in the kitchen. I exit the bathroom and start heading back to my office, which is in the same direction I heard the door. I don't see anyone, but I hear footsteps behind me, exiting one of the bedrooms and coming toward me down the hallway. It was distinct enough that I know which specific room it came from, but when I turned around, there was no one there. So now I'm pretty freaked out. I'm a 30-year-old woman alone in a dark building that houses only men. So I hustle my ass back to my office, grab my shit, and book it. As I'm leaving, I see someone walking through the kitchen up to the hallway door, but no one ever comes into the hallway. The next day, I told my boss about it, thinking we would get a good laugh and she would make a joke about it. But no, she gets this deeply unsettled look as I describe what happened, and then calmly says, well, if it happens again, just call him Jimmy, fake name, and see what happens. Turns out a few years ago, we had a resident pass away on property named Jimmy, and the room I heard the footsteps coming from was his room where he died. That night, I heard footsteps running down the hallway from the direction of that room as I was leaving. I did not look back. So I start calling this thing Jimmy. Not like communicating with it, but just as I'm leaving at night, I throw out a "good night, Jimmy," and all was quiet for a little while. The first time I did it, I saw someone peering around the corner at me, but that was it. Until this week. It started out with just an unsettling feeling like I'm being watched as I gather my belongings at the end of the night. Easily explained away because 1, I'm alone, 2, it's dark, and 3, I'm just waiting for something to happen. The other night, I thought I heard someone in the kitchen, but there was no one there when I came around the corner. Creepy, but okay. Then last night, I was in my office finishing up some work when someone knocked on my door. The residents were still there, so this isn't unusual, but there was no one there. Before you say they may have just walked away, my whole wall is windows. I can see the whole hallway. No one was there. I went to throw away a takeout bag in the kitchen garbage. The can is right next to the door, so I don't bother turning on the lights. But somehow I missed. The bag ended up on the floor, almost like someone had blocked it. Maybe I missed, whatever. But I had this feeling like someone was watching. Then I went to the bathroom, and as I was walking down the hall, I heard voices. Not like a conversation, but like someone was watching TV in one of the bedrooms. We don't allow TVs in the rooms, so that doesn't make sense. But okay, maybe someone stayed back because they were sick and they were watching something on their phone. The only thing that really bothered me was that there was absolutely no other sound. I hadn't heard anyone in the building at all since the residents left. But okay, when I exited the bathroom, the sound had completely stopped. When I left the building, I heard someone in the hallway opening behind me, so I turned around. No one was there. I know this is all pretty minimal, but I'm deeply unsettled. If it is Jimmy, what does he want? And why is this just starting now? He passed away several years ago, and there has been a number of new staff in and out since then. I myself have been here for a year, and this is the first I've experienced anything. If it isn't Jimmy, who or what is it? And whatever it is, why is it only showing itself to me?
I work in an IT department and found this email in the drafts folder of a missing employee. Hey love, I know it's late. Actually, I'm not sure when you'll get this email. I'm sorry I haven't called you back yet. I've been busy. I wish I had listened when you told me to come home earlier. I'm writing this now because I don't know what else to do. I need to explain what happened. I want to write down every detail I can remember. I need to tell you the truth because I think I'm trapped here. I'm not sure if I will get to see you again. As I'm sure you gathered, I stayed late at the office again, and yes, I know, I'm an idiot. You were right. When you called earlier, I could hear it in your voice, how worried you were, but I brushed it off. I laughed at your bad feeling because it sounded like superstition, and I didn't want to hear it. I had work to finish, my deadlines, my clients. I wasn't going to let a feeling pull me away. Stupid. So stupid. I stayed until about midnight. When I finally decided to leave, I grabbed my phone, only to realize it was dead. Completely. It had been plugged in all day, but apparently the outlet just wasn't working. Of course. I didn't think much of it at the time, figured I'd just charge it in the car on the way home. I wasn't in a hurry. Big mistake. I took the stairs instead of the elevator, thinking it would be a nice change to get a bit of exercise. 6 flights down. The building was quiet, almost eerily so. There was this oppressive silence as I passed each floor. No distant chatter, no sound of typing, just the dull hum of the building. The kind that starts to make your ears ring if you listen too long. And the air was heavy, like it was pressing down on me. I felt a little off, but I chalked it up to being tired.
When I reached the lobby, it was empty. No sign of DeMarcus, the security guy.
You know how he usually makes his rounds? Well, I figured he was doing that. Still, it felt strange not to see him at his desk. The place felt too big, too vacant. The kind of emptiness that makes you feel exposed, like something's watching from the shadows. I didn't stay long. I headed to the parking garage. You know how dim that place is, right? Tonight, it felt even worse. Most of the lights were out, and the ones still working flickered like they were dying. My car was parked alone, under the one working light, a flickering, buzzing light. I should have known something was off when I felt that heaviness again. Like the garage was breathing, watching. I thought I was just being paranoid. I got in the car, but when I turned the key, it wouldn't start. Nothing. Not even a click. My phone was still dead, and all I could hear was the faint echo of something. Scraping, or maybe shuffling, coming from deep in the garage. I tried not to think about it. I thought it was a cat or something, but it didn't sound right. I'm getting goosebumps just writing this. I went back inside to ask DeMarcus for help. 20 minutes passed, and he never came back. It was so quiet I could hear my own breathing. The only sound was the hum of those awful fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like they were the only things keeping the dark at bay. Something didn't feel right. DeMarcus never leaves the lobby unattended that long. That's when I saw the flyer for a taxi service pinned to the wall behind his desk. I figured it was my best bet. I used the landline to call them and waited outside for the cab. It was cold, but more than that, it was quiet. Too quiet. You know how there's always some noise, even late at night? A distant car, maybe someone walking by, but there was nothing. Just me, standing there, feeling watched. Then I heard it again, the scraping noise. Louder this time. It felt closer, and it was coming from the direction of the garage. I tried to ignore it, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was there, watching, waiting. The cab took forever. Way longer than it should have. I was about to go back inside when headlights blinded me. I almost cried with relief. I jumped in, eager to just get home and put this night behind me. The driver was incredibly normal. We talked a bit, made small talk. It felt calming, safe. We hit a red light, and I don't know why, but I felt the need to confess. I told him about the real reason I stayed out late tonight, about our fight last night. How I didn't want to come home because I was still mad because we'd said things we didn't mean. I wanted to be petty tonight. I wanted my absence to hurt you. The driver just listened. He gave me some advice, said relationships are hard work, said I should make amends. For a moment, it felt like everything was going to be okay. I felt lighter, like I was on my way back to you and everything would be fine. But then the light turned green and he didn't move. I pointed it out. Hey, the light's green. He didn't respond. I nudged him, thinking maybe he didn't hear me. Still nothing. Hey, buddy, the light, I said louder. I reached out to shake him, but when I touched his arm, it felt wrong, stiff. But he was still breathing. I could see it, shallow and slow, his chest barely rising and falling, but he didn't react to me at all. He was just frozen, staring straight ahead, hands on the wheel, blinking occasionally. Panic set in. I jumped out of the car, looked for help, but the streets were empty. Everything was closed. No one around, no traffic, no pedestrians. Just me, this unmoving cab, and the quiet. Too quiet. It was like the world had emptied out, like I was the only one left. I went back to the car, but the driver, he was gone. Just gone. The seat was empty. I tried telling myself that maybe he had gotten out, maybe he had gone for help, but deep down, I didn't believe it. I was too scared to believe it. I got in the driver's seat thinking I could make my way home myself. I started driving, hoping to find my way back, but I wasn't familiar with the way the cab driver had been taking me. I just kept trying to head east, but the streets kept forcing me to make unexpected turns. I drove for at least 30 minutes, and then I found myself on the street of my office building. Something inside me screamed that this wasn't possible. I should have been miles away from it,
even if I hadn't been close to home either.
But I still clung to hope that the bad feeling was all in my head. I thought of this as an opportunity. Now I could head home the way I was familiar with. I pushed the accelerator to the floor and tried to race by the office, but something went wrong. The taxi made some horrible metal rending noises and slowed. It stalled completely, right there, in front of the building. The same spot where I started. I got out. The street was empty, but the feeling that something was watching me was overwhelming now, like it was right behind me, breathing down my neck. I ran back inside. The lobby was still empty, but the lights, they were flickering, flashing, and I swear to you, in the dark moments, I could see DeMarcus, or something that looked like him, sitting in the chair, twisted like his body had been broken in ways that weren't possible. But when the lights flickered back on, the chair was empty. I didn't look back. I ran for the elevator. I pushed the button and waited. I could see the elevator light was on the 10th floor due to the light-up display above the elevator doors. I stood there, awkwardly. Then I heard the scraping sounds again, still coming from outside the building. I stared at the lit-up 10 and tried to will the number to change. To my delight, it did, quickly changing to 9 and then 8. But there it remained. I heard the lobby doors open. Instinctively, I turned back, certain that the sound was the result of DeMarcus returning from a patrol. But then I heard the scraping. It was much louder. It was inside the lobby. That horrible noise echoed across the large room. I turned and sought out the light-up display, hoping to see progress. There was some. It now read 6. But I could heard something new behind me, skittering, clicking on the floor. The scraping sound grew closer too. So I abandoned the elevator and rushed into the stairwell. I took the stairs 2 at a time, but no matter how far I went, I never passed any doors. I could hear the first floor doors open and something skitter in. The scraping sound accompanied it. I thought the scraping was something being dragged, and my imagination thought of a giant centipede with a bloated body that scraped along. Either way, I tried to focus on the stairs in front of me. The last thing I wanted to do was trip and fall. Something told me that I wouldn't be able to get up again. Yet the stairs seemed endless, spiraling up and up, the thing behind me getting closer with every step. Finally, I reached the 6th floor. I bolted to my office, entered the side entrance, and slammed the door behind me. I checked 4 times that it was locked, and now I'm waiting here. I've tried everything. The outlets don't work, my phone won't charge, the computers are on but have no internet. At least that thing in the stairwell never seemed to emerge. At least, I don't think it did. Shortly after I started to settle in here for the night, I heard our front lobby doorbell ring.
The echo of the bell reverberated through the hollow office hallways, sharp and unexpected. I ran to the door, hoping that it was someone coming into the office early. Something told me that if I just found one other person, I'd wake from this nightmare. Everything would return to normal. But I hesitated when I reached the lobby. We had thick curtains hanging by the entrance. To see who was ringing the bell, I'd have to get close to the door and pull back the curtain. The bell rang again and again, like the person on the other side was getting impatient. The risk was worth the reward, though. I needed to see a familiar face. I tugged the curtain aside. There, just inches away, was a face. Pale, expressionless, pressed close against the glass. Too close. The man's dead, glassy eyes locked with me, staring through me, unblinking. The stranger's mouth was stretched in a faint, unnatural smile, too wide and too still. He stood unnervingly still, as though he had been waiting there for me all along. He otherwise looked like he could have worked here. He looked like a stereotypical businessman, complete with a brown suitcase in one hand. But then the bell rang again. It wasn't coming from the door. It came whenever the stranger, still unblinking,
opened his mouth. In a panic, I returned the curtain and retreated to my cubicle in the back of the office. When I could calm down, my only plan was to try and sleep and hope the world would turn back to normal in the morning. But the lights, they won't turn off. No matter what I do, they stay on, buzzing and flickering, just like the parking garage lights. And I can still hear that thing. It's outside the door, scratching, waiting. I tried to sleep under my desk, but every time I closed my eyes, I could feel it. Something watching, getting closer. Keeping my eyes closed was impossible. And yet I kept feeling like the next time I opened them, that stranger's face would be there, right next to mine. But that's not what happened. Instead, the last time I opened my eyes, I got a different surprise. There was a phone, a landline, sitting on the floor in front of me. It definitely wasn't here before. And now it's ringing. It's been ringing for a while. I unplugged it, but it won't stop. I don't know what to do. I'm scared, Susan. I'm sorry. I should have listened to you. I shouldn't have stayed late. I wish I could just come home, but I don't think I'm getting out of here. I'm going to answer the phone. I know I shouldn't, but I don't have a choice. That thing outside the door, it's not leaving. I can hear it moving from our front door to the back, and it keeps trying the handles. But the worst part, none of the clocks have moved. It's been midnight for hours now. I really don't think this night is ever going to end. I just want you to know I love you. I'm sorry I wasn't there, but I never stopped loving you. If I don't come home, please remember that. Love you always, Fred. Again, this email was found in Fred Settler's drafts folder. Fred has not been seen since the night of October 16. If anyone has any information regarding his whereabouts, please contact the authorities or his wife, Susan Settler.
I used to walk home from work. Just got home from work. Hadn't planned on writing this down, but I need to share this. Maybe someone can help me make sense of this, or maybe writing it down will at least help me feel better. I work as a waiter at a local bar and grill in a small town in Arizona. I like my job. A lot of people pass through town on their way to and from California, so I get to talk to many different people every day. It's not the best job, but it pays the bills until I can finish school. I don't have a car, so I was lucky to find a job only a couple miles from my apartment. I often work the late shift, and on weekends we're open until 2 a.m. Last weekend I was having a good shift. None of my tables stiffed me on my tips, and we were able to close on time. Around 3 a.m., I said goodnight to the staff and left to go home. Normally, I walk along the main streets until I get to the cross street that leads to my apartment complex. Every once in a while, I'll cut through the park and get home about 10 minutes sooner. I don't usually do this when I work the late shifts because druggies, homeless, and lots of unfavorable characters hang around the park late at night. It was a long shift and I was tired. Summer weather comes early in Arizona, and it was really warm and not horribly dark that night, so I decided I'd walk through the park and get home a few minutes early. I walked through the park along the path for a few minutes. I was about halfway through the park when I noticed a small group of people. I counted 6 of them. They were gathered in a circle about 50 yards off the path. All of them were wearing black. I figured it was probably a group of high school kids drinking or smoking pot. As I got closer, I realized they were swaying back and forth. It was definitely weird, and I thought of turning back and just walking my normal route home, but I was already halfway through the park, and if I turned around, it would take me that much longer to get back to my apartment. I figured I'd just keep walking and get past them as quick as I could. I kept walking, and when they were just ahead of me and off to my right, they stopped moving. They were all just kind of staring at the ground in the center of the circle they had formed. Getting more and more creeped out, I walked faster. I hoped they would either not notice me or just ignore me. I walked past them and nobody seemed to be paying me any attention. I hurried along. I'd be out of the park and back onto the street after only a couple of minutes. After walking another 20 yards, I turned around to see if any of them were behind me. I saw 5 of them gathered in their circle. This was when I really started to get freaked out. I was certain I had seen 6 of them there the first time I saw them. I turned back around and walked towards the park exit, which was just ahead of where I was. Right before I reached the exit, I turned around one more time. One of them was standing on the path behind me. Whoever it was, I was now close enough to see its face. It had long hair going down past its ears. It had the face of a young man, but it was completely white, like a corpse. If anyone else could have seen it, they might say its eyes were black like a moonless and cloudy night. They would be wrong. There was nothing where its eyes should have been. Its sockets were empty and filled with complete darkness. I've never been as terrified in my life as I was when I looked into where this thing's eyes should have been. Its face contorted and it opened its mouth to scream. Its jaw dropped much lower than I thought was possible, almost down to its chest. It didn't have any teeth. Its mouth was as empty as its eye sockets and filled with the same horrible darkness. I could tell this thing was screaming at me, but it didn't make a sound. I turned and ran. I didn't stop until I reached my apartment, and I never looked back. Once I got inside my apartment, I quickly locked the doors. Without turning on any of my lights, I looked out my window through the blinds. There was nothing. As tired as I was when I got off work, I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep. I wanted to call one of my friends, but it was now almost 4 a.m. Eventually, after the sun came up, I was able to sleep. A couple nights this past week, I've had a coworker drop me off at home after work, and the rest of the time, I've walked only on well-lit streets. I hadn't planned on posting this, but I've noticed strange things happening the last couple nights. 2 nights after the incident, I looked through my window and saw someone standing in the parking lot facing away from me. When I looked a few minutes later, they were gone. The next night, the storage closet outside of my apartment was broken into. Nothing was missing, and I'm not sure if it was related to the thing I saw in the park. Last night, I was woken up by a loud bang on my front door. It was hard enough for me to feel like my whole apartment shook. I'm not sure if any of this is related to what happened in the park, or if I'm just being paranoid. If anyone has any thoughts, please let me know. The walk through the park and now the loud noise waking me up in the middle of the night has me unsettled and afraid. If anything else happens, I'll post an update.